Today what we're going to be doing is making isobeyaki. Isobeyaki is a tasty treat. Goes perfect with a Japanese beer or osake if you are drinking, and makes for a very satisfying snack. So for the ingredients, we're going to be using a little bit of sushi nori, also about half of a block of tofu, momen tofu, which is firm tofu, roughly 300 grams worth. So it's been not pressed, just straight out of the container. We have some shiratamako here, which is about 170, 180 grams that we'll need. We also have some shishimi here, which is 7 flavored pepper, Japanese style, as well as 2.5 tablespoons of shoyu or soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of mirin, and then a half tablespoon of sake. Hi, I'm Pat Tokuyama. If we haven't met before, I am the founder of All Day I Eat Like a Shark, and if you'd like to see more Japanese cooking videos like this one today, subscribe if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up to let me know if you are enjoying this video so far. So in case you've missed my previous videos on omatsuri, which is the Japanese term for festival, and you want to learn about the foods that you might encounter when visiting Japan and going to a festival there, make sure to check out the link in the description below for the other videos that are part of this little series. So there's a lot of different ways that you can actually make isobayaki, and some of my favorites include tofu, like with the one that we're making today, as well as nagaimo, which is another tasty treat. If you've never cooked with nagaimo before, it can be one of the slimiest things on earth that you'll ever cook with, or it could also be very crunchy as well. Okay, so I tried to make these little patties about 2 inches roughly in diameter, and here we have about 2.5 tablespoons of shoyu, 3 tablespoons of mirin, and about a half tablespoon of osake. That is going to be our sauce or seasoning, similar to a teriyaki sauce, a little bit more savory, not as sweet because we're not using any sugar. And that's how we're going to be seasoning these little morsels of shiratamako and tofu. And what we're going to do is boil these until they begin to float. Make sure that you're using a large pot so you don't crowd these and they all stick together. So similar to shiratamako, if you've ever used that to make dango, like we did in the last recipe, you're going to be cooking these until they begin to float. So they'll be sinkers until they begin to cook, and once they're done cooking, they'll be floating. And then at that point, we can go ahead and take it out, and then we're going to saute them just gently so that they get a little bit brown with these seasonings to finish up the dish. And then in the meantime, we'll toast some nori, Japanese dried seaweed, cut it into little strips to wrap these little pieces with, and then they'll be ready to eat. So if you remember in the other video when we made the mitarashi dango or amakara dango, I was talking about how growing up osenbei or Japanese rice crackers was one of my favorite things to eat. And this is actually probably about as good as you can get, or as close as you can get to osenbei in terms of flavor at home, without having to make your own toasted rice cracker or osenbei from scratch. And this is a little bit more filling and nutritious because we're using tofu. Tofu! You guys know I love tofu. Tofu Yori is my cookbook. And if you haven't gotten your own copy, make sure to check that out in the All Day I Eat Like a Shark shop. It's one of my first Japanese cookbooks. My other one, Getting Started with Plant-Based Japanese Foods, is available as well. And I'm also working on a couple others that will be available shortly. So a few tips for you if you've never made isobayaki before is to make sure to use low heat once you add in the sauce so that you don't burn the soy sauce. If you like things a little bit sweeter, you could probably put in a few dashes of sugar to make it more of a, I guess, lighter flavor instead of a more savory, robust, dark flavor, which is what I prefer for this particular preparation. Second tip is to make sure to toast your nori like I mentioned. It helps to add a nice texture. A little bit of a crunch helps with the aroma and the flavor as well. So make sure to do that. And that goes for any dish that you use nori for, not just this one. The third tip is going to be to serve it with your favorite Japanese beer. This is a great otsumami or small food that you can serve with alcohol. Like for example, if you're at a bar or izakaya in Japan, you might have something like this served to you while you drink. And if you're in a pinch and you don't have time to cook the little patties or put them together, you can actually cheat by using something called kirimochi. Kirimochi is a cut mochi. That's where the term comes from. And if you're going to be using kirimochi, all you need to do is you could toast it first, and then you can mix the sauce and drizzle it on separately. And this will be something similar. It'll be a little bit different, but it is possible for you to substitute this for that if you want. This is going to be a little bit less nutritious because this is just made from rice, whereas this has tofu. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions or comments, share them below. If I missed anything, if you have any tips, please share them with us so we can all learn from each other. And make sure to check out the link in the description for all the other Japanese festival foods that we're going to be discovering and revisiting and enjoying, hopefully in your own kitchen this summer when it's hot, or in the winter time. I guess any time of year. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it isobayaki? What? Isobayaki. Isobayaki. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Isobayaki.